Now, what is screaming versus yelling? That's the first video, is what is screaming? Well, screaming is the act of making noise and making a really harsh sound, but without using the vocal folds in an abusive way. When you actually yell at somebody, your vocal folds slam together. And we talked about this concept when we talked about vocal health. So there's a few things that happen when the cords slam together. They swell and they don't work anymore. Then we have to take a few days off, wait for the swelling to go down. That's when we become hoarse, we lose our voice, etc., etc. The thing that can happen over repeated swelling and repeated slamming is that the voice will eventually develop calluses and nodes and won't work at all without surgery or extremely long periods of vocal rest and serious rehabilitation and medical treatment. So we want to avoid all of that altogether and be able to make harsh, extreme sounds without injuring our voice and without causing any damage, so we can avoid having time off. And we can also avoid all the problems and the medical expenses that come with vocal injury. One thing we have to acknowledge is what's the difference between a scream and yell. Well, when I respond to someone and I'm yelling, if I yell at my cat and tell him, hey, get off my couch, my vocal folds slam together to make that loud sound. I'm not concentrating on anything. I'm just responding to the abstract thought in my mind, which tells me to yell. And that yelling is an automated response. The vocal cords slam together, and then I've done a little bit of stress, put a little bit of stress on them at that moment. But a death metal scream or death metal growl or black metal or heavy metal, whatever you want to think of it as, is pure noise, and it avoids slamming the vocal folds together completely. And if you do it correctly, you won't slam your cords together at all. So let's take a look at the two different types of screaming. There's two main styles of death metal screaming, and the two styles are a false chord scream and a closed chord scream. Some people refer to that as the fry scream. That is a term used by many other vocalists and vocal instructors. So you have your false chord and your fry. The false chord scream is basically where the vocal folds sit open while air passes through them. We remember that the vocal folds are in the windpipe, and so when you rush air through an open set of vocal folds, you actually make a lot of noise. We sing or speak when we bring our vocal folds together. And when we leave them at open and at rest, we can push air through them and make a harsh sound without ever slamming them together. But the trick is not to bring them together at the same time, to learn how to just make noise without singing or speaking. So listen to this. This is false chord screaming. Yeah! You hear how there is really just noise. Effectively, my vocal cords are sitting open and it sounds like wind rushing through a pipe of flappy tissue, which is exactly what it is. Yeah! There we go. Now, in order to do that, I've got to take in a lot of air, have proper breath support, and I still need to imagine my laser beam of sound going over my x-axis, somewhere over my joker line, to keep my larynx in a neutral position. You have to remember that with a false chord scream, there's only a general sense of low or high, as it's just noise being made. It doesn't have any notes or pitch to them because we're not bringing our vocal folds together. So when we make this noise, we can give a general sense of high by pushing the air through a little faster, and low by changing the vowel shape and slowing down the air. So when I take a deep breath in and I do my false chord scream, I can make it high by pushing it faster like this. Yeah! Or I can make it lower. Yo! But that's about it. It's a pretty limited amount of pitch range. It's certainly, this is what it's not. Yeah! Or yo! And it certainly is not yeah! Yo! Anything like that where there's actual pitch or notes or speaking in it is not good, and it is not proper screaming. You either make noise or you don't. You don't do both at the same time. It takes a little while to figure it out, and we'll get into that in the next couple videos. The next type of screaming technique is that closed chord or that fry technique. It's where your vocal cords sit sandwiched closed together and you push air between the tiny spot between the vocal folds. Now, this is a technique that a lot of vocalists use, and again, you would avoid slamming the cords together. You're just holding them together and pushing air right through the tiny seam in the middle there. You're not slamming them together, and again, you're just making noise. You are not singing, you are not yelling, you're not doing any sort of weird growl. You're just making noise with air. But a fry scream, because the space is tighter, with a false chord scream, your cords are sitting open and the air is passing through them. With the fry or the closed chord scream, the vocal folds are sitting tight and the air is going through this tiny space right here between the chords. So it will have a higher tone to it and it won't be quite as loud as a false chord scream. So let's look at a fry scream. Yow! That's a fry scream. Different than the false chord. Let's do the examples next to each other. False chord. Yeah! Fry. Yeah! Totally different. So each one, though, in each case, the fry is just noise. Yow! There isn't any, it's not yow or yo. There's no vocal, there's no pitch coming there. My vocal cords aren't vibrating. I'm just pushing air through them and making a very specific noise.